This video does not have a sponsor. If you want, you can buy some of the limited run holiday merch, links down below. Alright, no preamble, no giant disclaimer, today I'm just jumping right in. The media's coverage of FTX, legacy media, has been the single greatest failure I have ever seen in terms of narrative honesty and objectivity. Rather than performing their duty as an army of watchdogs, informing the public with accuracy and speed, they have morphed into some sort of ethically bankrupt optical shield meant to sanitize the reputation of Sam Bankman-Fried and his fellow executives. I have no idea what will come of all this, no predictions to make about whether or not he will even be punished, but today I'd like to showcase exactly what the media has been saying, doing, and changing while looking at interwoven connections between a former crypto billionaire and top-level politicians who will now be responsible for investigating him. Go figure. Let's get started. First, we need to understand a basic overview of what has happened. The entire story, as it stands today, is incredibly complicated and impossible to fully explain. However, the bullet points are as follows. FTX, up until recently, was the world's second largest crypto exchange. Alongside FTX was a sister company called Alameda Research, and Alameda Research, through a series of faulty investments, required a bailout from FTX, which was paid with customer deposits. This transaction led to insolvency, ultimately, when users began to withdraw funds in large quantities all at the same time, which meant that both FTX and Alameda Research went bankrupt. Obviously, it's far more complicated than that, with the FTT token and marking-to-market mechanics, all that stuff, with backdoor exploits, hackers, accounting failures, romantic relationships, you name it. This will all be a pretty wild Netflix documentary someday, I'm pretty sure, but the basic premise is that Alameda Research and FTX were very closely interconnected. User deposits were intentionally mishandled in one of the most egregious ways imaginable, leading to a multi-billion-dollar bankruptcy declaration and a scandal that will go down as one of the largest regulatory failures in all of history. Cool. Again, there's a lot more to this, but that's the basic gist of things. So what's next? Next is media. For context, I need to quote something here and explain where it came from. After FTX collapsed, Sam Bankman-Fried resigned as CEO, which is good, but who replaced him? His successor was a man named John Ray III, who previously oversaw the bankruptcy of world-famous energy company Enron. For those that don't know, Enron is one of the largest examples of organized accounting fraud in all of history, concluding with multiple indictments, prison sentences, and further regulation as a direct result of its failure. Now, to understand why this matters, I have to read that quote from John Ray III with regards to how FTX was being managed. Quote, "Never in my career have I seen such a complete failure of corporate controls and such a complete absence of trustworthy financial information as occurred here, from compromised systems integrity and faulty regulatory oversight abroad to the concentration of control in the hands of a very small group of inexperienced, unsophisticated, and potentially compromised individuals. This situation is unprecedented." End quote. Keep in mind, that is the prior CEO of a world-famous fraud scandal saying that what he sees here with FTX is worse. Unprecedented means that there is no existing example he is aware of that adequately compares to how royally fucked FTX actually is, which hopefully adds enough context for us to understand that for him to say that means absolute, unmitigated failure on the part of all previous executives with very clear knowledge that what they were doing was wrong, very clear intent to deceive, and very real damage as a result. Fantastic. Should be straightforward, right? Massive fraud, billions lost, and yeah, legacy media is slow on the uptake, typically, but they should eventually catch up, right? Wrong. As the rumor mill went into overdrive on social media, as speculation ran rampant in the early stages of this bankruptcy, Sam Bankman-Fried granted one interview. Since then, he has opened up a bit more, but initially it was just one, with the New York Times. This interview became a very viral article titled "How Sam Bankman-Fried's Crypto Empire Collapsed," which contained not one single mention of fraud or illegal activity. This article is one of the most blatantly slanted puff pieces I have ever seen in my entire life. Here's an example. Quote, "Even as he kept hiring down, Mr. Bankman-Fried built an ambitious philanthropic operation, invested in dozens of other crypto companies, bought stock in the trading firm Robinhood, donated to political campaigns, gave media interviews, and offered Elon Musk billions of dollars to help finance the mogul's Twitter takeover." End quote. The New York Times, while interviewing one of the largest financial criminals we have ever seen in human fucking history, drilled down on how generous he supposedly was, and glossed over his political influence peddling with a single word. To really drive home the point here, reading again from the article, quote, "He has also found other ways to occupy his time in recent days, playing the video game Storybook Brawl. Though less than he usually does," he said. "It helps me unwind a bit. It clears my mind." End quote. Yeah, Storybook Brawl is some shit-tier crypto card game, total trash, that was acquired by FTX in March of 2022. The New York Times article, on a scale of journalism to advertisement, is closer to an advertorial than an expose. It is some of the worst reporting I have ever seen. Sadly, this is just the start. As evidence continued to emerge that high-level executives knew about this fraud and that SBF had intentionally committed multiple separate crimes, mainstream legacy media continued to try and desperately sanitize his reputation at every single turn. Here's one from Forbes. Queen Caroline, the fake charity nerd girl behind the FTX collapse, end quote. Caroline Ellison, by the way, was the CEO of Alameda Research, for those that don't know, and former girlfriend of Sam Bankman-Fried. She was aware of the fraud, participated in it, and largely contributed to the wipeout of billions in customer assets. Still, that's fine though, right? That title isn't so bad. She was behind the failure to a degree, sure, but that's not what it originally said. The first version went like this. Queen Caroline, the risk-loving 29-year-old embroiled in the FTX collapse, end quote. Yeah, that's a very different tone. Subheader, Alameda Research CEO Caroline Ellison is a math whiz who loves Harry Potter and taking big risks. She is also one of the supporting players in Sam Bankman-Fried's FTX catastrophe and a new darling of the alt-right. So what the fuck does that even mean? Darling of the alt-right? Everyone hates her. Risk-loving? Or should they say, financial criminal who misappropriated user capital? Math whiz? Loves Harry Potter? Taking big risks? You mean obliterating the livelihood for hundreds of thousands of misled investors? What is this trash? How about another one? Washington Post. Quote, before FTX collapse, founder poured millions into pandemic prevention, end quote. Okay, that isn't technically wrong per se on its face, though there is more to that story, a lot more. But what was the original title? FTX collapse dooms founder's effort to prevent another pandemic. What the fuck? Instead of framing this as one of the greatest financial failures in human history, they frame it as a man just trying to do good and prevent a pandemic. Actually, it was his brother's company lobbying for $30 billion from the government after being funded by Alameda Research, which is a very different thing. This article is sickening. The entire thing refocuses the conversation around the idea that all Sam Bankman-Fried really wanted to do was help the world, do good, and make a positive impact, which at this stage is some of the worst journalistic reporting you could possibly do, but it goes further. In yet another interview given to Vox this time, SBF appeared to just ignore legal counsel maybe and start saying whatever the hell he wanted via text message. This is probably the best reporting on the matter because, go figure, it's not even an article, it's just screenshots of Sam incriminating himself. Gold star on that one. But we need to ask the question, why did he do this? My own speculation? He may have believed that he was in friendly territory. The New York Times article writer was very clearly skewing the narrative in his favor, and so perhaps this Vox writer would do the same as well. Turns out, FTX had given a substantial sum of money through their philanthropy foundation to Vox's Perfect Future vertical, where Kelsey Piper, the journalist who published his messages, currently works. Also, Kelsey Piper and Caroline Ellison, his ex-girlfriend and CEO of Alameda Research, both know each other, as discovered in previous Tumblr posts. SBF may very well have expected a journalist that his girlfriend knew in some capacity or another, working at a company in a department that he helped fund, to be charitable to him, and thus he opened up more than he probably should have, expecting more damage control on his behalf, just like the New York Times. Thankfully, that didn't happen. Props to you, Kelsey, if you ever hear this. And his messages were merely posted for the world to see, but you gotta wonder about his thought process there. Here's another one. Reuters. Sam Bankman-Fried did the financial system a favor. I shit you not, that is a real thing posted by an actual media outlet, in reference to what may very well eclipse Enron as one of the most damaging, intentional, and fucked up fraud schemes in all of modern history. But that's a good thing, according to them. The article centers on the idea that bad actors often accrue political power that makes it hard for them to be brought to justice. That's the rudimentary premise here, which is true, but that has already happened, and let me show you precisely how. As FTX went down in flames, a colossal continuing fireball that never seems to go out, the House Subcommittee on Financial Services declared an investigation. Chairman Maxine Waters announced the decision in a press release on the homepage for the committee, which should be a positive thing, right? I don't know. You tell me. Here's Sam and Maxine Waters in a picture together. Here's another one. Here's her blowing him a goddamn kiss after one of their meetings, and the connections don't stop there. This is a list of Financial Services Committee members. Red to yellow, the highlighted names indicate which members Sam Bankman-Fried, in order of severity, and his executives directly donated to for campaign finance. The head of policy and regulatory strategy at FTX was donating to Jim A. Himes, now part of the committee investigating FTX. He was also donating, along with Sam Bankman-Fried himself, directly to Josh Gottenheimer, another member of the committee now investigating him. Want some more? Damn straight you do. Sam was donating to Cindy Axne, another investigating congresswoman, as well as Sean Casten. Not only him, but the head of engineering at FTX, Nishad Singh, was also donating to Sean Casten, and so was Caroline Ellison. But still, not fucking done here, because his brother, Gabriel Bankman-Fried, who was funded by Alameda Research, which was stealing customer funds from FTX, used to work for Sean Casten's campaign. It doesn't end there. Committee member Richie Torres got tens of thousands of dollars from Sam Bankman-Fried. Jesus Garcia got hundreds of thousands of dollars from Sam Bankman-Fried's political action committee, called Protect Our Future, ironically enough. And Jake Auchincloss, yet another committee member tasked now with investigating Sam and FTX, was given thousands of dollars by FTX executive Mark Wetjen and SBF himself. This committee is infected with people that should not be allowed anywhere near the investigation. The conflicts of interest on the table right now are insane. Still, one more thing. It turned out through now exposed financial records that Alameda Research, after stealing customer funds, was loaning those funds out directly to executives like Sam Bankman-Fried and Ryan Salam. Ryan Salam? Yeah, he gave tens of millions of dollars to Republicans during the 2022 midterm cycle, and nearly 100 times he sent $2,900 to Win Red. The amount is because you cannot donate more than $2,900, I think it is exactly, as an individual to a specific campaign per election cycle. It's more complicated than that, honestly, but that's the gist of it. And I do not know precisely which candidates received all of those donations, but that could be even more Financial Services Committee members with a direct financial conflict of interest, because FTX executives were donating money to their campaigns, their re-election campaigns, or their initial election campaigns, after getting loans from a company that stole user funds. Bottom line, because if I don't cut it now, my blood pressure will go through the roof, and I'll rant about this for far too long. FTX is now being investigated by politicians who have a direct financial incentive to be dishonest. They should all be removed immediately from the committee. The media is covering for him. They are sanitizing his reputation, attempting to paint a picture of math whiz Harry Potter fans and do-gooder philanthropists who just really wanted to help people and prevent a pandemic, but they made a couple mistakes along the way. The media is, right now, proving beyond any shadow of a doubt that it is a dishonest, corrupt, and untrustworthy machine with little to no value and a total lack of journalistic integrity. What's to be done? I don't know. Awareness is all I can personally do, but it's awful to watch when the only real outcome should be life behind bars. That's it. Please do check out the merchandise or the other links down below, Patreon, locals, etc., other social media, but I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching, and I know I'm kind of covering certain topics a lot lately. You can let me know in the comments if it's getting to be too much, but I don't know, it's a developing story and it just keeps going, so yeah, give me feedback if you want, but have a nice night. I'll cut it there.